I love it. It's all music, I'm told, so. Good morning. Good to see everyone. It's good to be home. You probably are getting the impression I want to talk about success today. And I do. That was kind of running through my head while I was laying out on the beach, that this really feels successful. And I want to look at the ideas behind this thing called success because, well, let me not tell you, let me ask you, is anyone here that doesn't want to be successful? Great, I got the right audience. Of course we do. We all want to be successful. None of us want to live anything short of that. That's one reason we come here, to remind ourselves of who we are and how we live our lives. And I want to start this conversation about success with a certain number of people that are part of this community that are doing something very successful in their lives. For the past 2 years, they've been working diligently to prepare to become licensed practitioners within this community. And it has been a joyous journey, and it's just about over. We're doing, on Tuesday night, we're doing what's called a mock exam, which will prepare them for the actual exam. And then the following week, we're going to celebrate and have a party and celebrate the completion of their process, although they will then have an exam to do and an oral panel to do over in Raleigh. But I want you to see who they are. You'll see them more formally in a few months when they do receive their licenses. But I'm just so impressed and so grateful for how they have paid attention and listened and participated and truly grown spiritually in their awareness of their spiritual nature over the past 2 years. So I would like to ask, this is so that I don't forget the one I usually do, which is always a different one. Dee Brooks, April Connor. Is Dakota here today? You don't have to come up, just stand where you are. Dakota Forgione is not with us this morning, but Judith Laniak is. Jen Oman is with us. Betty Tronier, right back there, and John L. Varnum. Thank you all. And while you're standing, stand for Alyssa Rowe, who this would not have happened without. Thank you, beloved one. Yeah, that expresses success to me. When you take something on and you stay with it, and no matter what, eventually you get there. So we're going to talk about this idea of success. And some of the elements of success are kind of funny because one of them is, as Holmes says, is the work that we do is to control conditions. That's a good thing. Yet some people have this issue that control is not a good thing. No, control is absolutely a wonderful thing. We must have control. And the way we control our conditions is through our thoughts. By thinking clearly and having thoughts that support us, we're able to experience the outcome of that. When we don't think in those terms, we get something else. And that's the challenge because something else is not the success we're looking for. And yet some people in the world still think that somehow their success comes from outside. It does not. It comes from within. It comes from their discipline. And I got to tell you, that's one thing about being in the science of mind. If you're really practicing this teaching, whether you're a licensed practitioner or not, you're doing that with a great personal discipline. You don't give yourself room to have those thoughts and fears and anxieties and confusion and all the things that everybody else gets to have. You have to go, no, this is the truth. This is the truth. And you live from that truth. And by doing that, you get where you want to go. Now, the thing about being successful is you can look at different aspects of your life and see whether you have success there. And what I call those things are the 4 pillars of life. I've been teaching this for years, and it still applies. I often, when I teach it in class, I say, okay, here they are. Health, wealth, relationships, and self-expression. Health can be a healthy mind, healthy body, healthy life. Wealth has to do with money. Relationships have to do with everyone, including yourself, and how you relate to them. And self-expression is what you bring into the world. And I ask my classes, give me something that doesn't fall into at least one of those categories. I've never gotten an answer because this is it. Now, most people, if you say success, they're going to go to two of these pillars. They're going to go to wealth and they're going to go to self-expression. Self-expression would be your career as part of that. So they're going to say, well, being successful comes from the amount of money you have and how high you go up in the corporate ladder or in creating business or whatever that is. And those are partially true, but you can't leave the other two out. So that's not the whole thing. So if you're judging your life by how much money you have and calling it success if you have a lot, or maybe more important, saying you're not successful because you don't have a lot of money, you're missing the mark on this. There's more to it. Now, most successful people have managed to have a fair amount of money so that they can live comfortably. Some have more than that, but I know there are a lot of people that are really, really wealthy that are not successful. They're not happy. They're not living a full, rich life. So you can't count on any one of these to make success happen in your life. That means, I guess, that we got to keep all of these things really working, right? When that happens, when we think in those terms, we kind of move away from the idea of pillars to something that looks a little more like this. You know, the idea that you're trying to keep them going. You know, and it can get frustrating and confusing and overwhelming at times, right? So let's not define success this way, that we have to do everything just right. There are some elements of success that transcend the pillars that are going to give us a different take, and that's where I want to go today. So I want to begin here by asking you to close your eyes for a moment, and I want you to imagine at some point, whether it's in the morning or some other time, and it doesn't matter which one you use, but I want you to imagine yourself standing before a mirror. Look into that mirror. Who do you see? Well, you see yourself. You see your body. You see your eyes. My question to you is, do you like that one you're looking at? Do you really like them? Do you admire them? Do you admire that one that's looking back at you? Is this thing working? This way that you're being in the world, is it working for you? Now open your eyes. Perhaps the work here is to have an even greater sense of who you are than you would otherwise. To lift yourself up, not to look in the mirror and find fault, but to see something that is even greater. Something to move toward, something that helps you realize that you really are an exceptional human being, that you are bringing something that only you can bring to the world. Now we're starting to move into the realm of success, if you're looking back like that. So that's one piece of the puzzle. It's a self-perception. How do we perceive ourselves in the world? It's also important to understand that everything that we do finding success has to do with where we're going. So another idea. Imagine yourself going to bed tonight, having a good night's sleep, waking up in the morning. What are your first thoughts of your day? How's that day going to go? Is it going to be a successful day? Is it going to be a productive day? Is it going to be something really positive and helpful? Maybe. Maybe we do get up in the morning and say, today is the best day ever. And then spend the day living up to that, to finding the best of ourselves in that day. Now, I'm not suggesting that people that are successful never have a down day. They do. They absolutely do. So it's sort of like what David was saying up here. It's really not about everything that happens all day long is a triumph. It's that when it's not, you can get up and get going again and it doesn't slow you down, at least not permanently. It may for the moment. And like I say, some people have, even successful people, have a rough day, and that's okay. In that case, that's what the next day is for, is to turn that around, to live it a different way, to know who you are, and to choose to not stay down when these things happen, to choose to actually lift yourself up, to know who you are, and to live the best day possible that day. That's success. Successful people want to achieve. We all want to achieve something, but successful people have a tendency to be a little better at it. This is from LL Cool J, the rapper, right? Stay focused, go after your dreams, and keep moving toward your goals. Pretty simple. The man's made a career of making multi-million dollars with that way of being in the world, with that idea, with that intention. And if he can do it, I believe that we can all do it. If we just stay focused and continue to move towards something. There are two kinds of people in the world according to neuro-linguistic programming. There are people that move toward what they want, and there are people that try to get away from what they don't want. I wouldn't suggest you can't get away from what you don't want, but it's not that easy because your focus is what you don't want. So what keeps coming up? What you don't want, exactly. So the idea of doing that is kind of contrary to the teachings of science of mind, is to focus on things that you would call bad or wrong or difficult or problematic or any other such word. If that's where your focus is, that's what's guiding your life. Even if you're going, I don't want this. Successful people tend to focus on what they do want and where they're going and what their intentions are. That is how you do it, and it isn't about time. I've been discovering that in my life. It's not how fast it happens. Of course you want it to be done and set up and working and everything's great. Whatever this outcome is, this desired outcome of your life, the next thing, the next big thing. You want it to show up. You want it to work. But it's not on your timetable. I mean, I could tell you that it's all based on your consciousness, but that would sound like I was blaming you, and I'm not. Because there's no blame involved in moving toward what you want. If you go a little bit, if you go a lot in a day's time, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that you move toward it at all. Keeps you in the lane that's called success. So give yourself a break if you're being critical about how the thing you want so much isn't here yet, isn't all worked out, isn't functioning perfectly. Give yourself a break for that. If you're working on getting to that place in your life, then you're successful. It's working. It's okay. You can do it. That's what's important about this. Successful people are engaged in life. What does that mean? That means they're not just watching. They're not just on the sideline. They're not commentating on how others are doing. That's not success. Success is by being in the arena. I read that to you, it's probably been a couple of years ago. Theodore Roosevelt talking about how the one that criticizes the one in the arena is not the hero. Hero's the one that's in there getting dirty and bloody and making something happen in the world. That's success. You don't have to get bloody. But you do have to have a vision and be moving toward it, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to change the world. It can be anything. It could be a body thing. It could be a weight thing. It could be a health thing. It could be a relationship thing. It could be any of those pillars we looked at. That you set a standard for how things will be and you move toward it. That's success. That's what you're looking for. That's what you're creating. It doesn't matter how quickly you do it, just that you continue to move in that direction. So move toward what you want, and the engagement of life happens because you're engaged. You love life. You're interested in life. You're happy to be alive. Life is a good thing. And you're making progress. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Successful people are contributors, not survivors. What could that mean? I don't think that's talking about money. That's talking about bringing something to the world that makes a difference. Something that makes the world a better place because you are here. Successful people have a legacy. Now, legacy is a word that I think is a bit abused, but the idea is that when you leave this life, the world's a better place because you are here. Now, if you can't say that about your life, that's something to look at, because you did not come here to fail. You did not come here to not matter. You came here to make a difference. In what way? That's up to you. That's your call. That's yours to figure out. But you must leave the world better than you found it. And if you can't do that, then I don't know why you're here. This is an element of success that just touches the depths of me. I believe it's true. You know, next January, we'll be celebrating the 25th anniversary of this center starting in Barbara's and my home. 25 years. Not bad. Now, if I asked, not you, but if I asked someone that didn't really have much to do with this center, where our success lies, some of them may say, look at this beautiful campus. Look at this beautiful place where you meet. Look at all the space you've got. Look at all the things you can do here. And it is a beautiful campus. I absolutely agree. But that's not what Barbara and I leave. That's not what the essence of what we've done is. It's not about buildings or property. It's about you and about all the other thousands of people that we touch by teaching these teachings and sharing these principles with the world. Those lives that are changed is what we leave. Because when those lives change, then lives change around those people. And yes, I'm absolutely talking about you in this room. And I'm also talking about to all those people that watch us online, that have no other source for this information that they know of. There are many sources if you get online. But they find this place online, and they watch the classes and the Sunday morning messages, and they read the books that listen to me, that Barbara posts. And all the work that Devon Embler does to make that happen, and Rodney, to make that happen on our website, that's our legacy. That's the thing that makes a difference in the world. Lives are changing. This entire planet and all of the people on it is evolving. We know that. The statistics show it. And where we're going is to the understanding that we share here, that we are the ones that create our experience, that it's who we are and what we do that creates the world the way it is for us. People out there that are struggling with it, people out there are filled with hate, people out there that find fault in other races and religions and peoples around the world and seek to attack them, don't get it. They don't get it. This is the way that people can change that. What we learn here, what we teach here, what we model here is what will change the world. That's what we're doing. That's our legacy. And that's where we are the contributors. And not just Barbara and me, but all of us. The survivors out there, they're doing what they do. They're finding their way. And that's fine. I want to make sure I don't have another thought that I want to share about that. No, I think that'll do. Let's go to this next one. Successful people don't fail. They learn. It's okay to put your head down when things aren't going so well, and this isn't what you planned. But it's not a failure. If you accept it as a failure and you personalize it and make yourself wrong for what happened, then you're stuck. Where are you going to go from there? What are you going to do from there? Nah, that's not the answer. The answer is no matter what happens, learn something. Learn something about you based on what happened, because whatever happened because of you. That's not a blaming. That's a reality. That's what the context of this teaching is built on, is that we create our experience. We create our reality. So if we think something went wrong, then we did it. So did we do it just to beat on ourselves? I hope not. That wouldn't make much sense. Perhaps we did it, even at an unconscious level, perhaps we did it so that we could learn something about ourselves. God knows I've learned from my mistakes, as we call them, my failures. I've learned from those things. So who wouldn't learn something? That I won't do that again. I will do it differently next time. I recognize now that what is important is this thing that I wasn't recognizing then. However you want to frame it, it doesn't matter. But the fact that you take that moment where your head's down against the wall and go, you know what? I'm better for having gone through that. When you can do that, in that moment that looks like failure, you're a massive success. You have transcended this idea of failure into something great and glorious because you've learned something that changes your life forever. How does it get better than that? We can all do this. We can all move from that idea that something's wrong to something's better because now I know what's going on. So successful people don't fail. Don't even waste your time on thinking it's a failure. They learn. We all learn. Absolutely. Successful people are always looking for that idea that's going to make their life work. So failure, not being a failure, but being a teacher, allows us to do that. My first spiritual teacher in Australia had been in business when he was younger, selling metal siding for buildings. You all know what that is. You see it every time you come in this building. And they made him, when he was very young in his 20s, the sales manager of this company that produced and sold this metal siding. And his boss said, we're giving you a whole new crop of fresh salespeople to work with. Let's see who we can get some success out of here. And so he said, okay. He took them all behind the plant, behind the warehouse, to a pile of inferior siding that was rejected for sale by the company. And he said to all of them, spend the next week, sell this stuff. Huh? It's garbage. Now some of them said, I can't do that. And they left, and they were done. But the ones that went out and tried to sell it, that put their energy into selling it to customers or potential customers over and over and over again, developed a sense of the product and how to present it and how to achieve the sale. Did they get a lot of sales that way? No. But those that stuck around moved into selling the high quality product and were very successful. Very successful because they had experienced that failure as learning. And they moved from failure into a better understanding of what they were supposed to do. The great author Bram Stoker says, we learn from failure, not from success. You know, there's that lovely image of being on the mountaintop, of having everything working, you're looking out overall and going, life is glorious, everything's working, my life is great. How much learning is going on there? It's not a time to learn. It's a time to appreciate. When do you learn? When you're down in the valley. And you're walking around in the mud. And things are hard. That's where we learn. That's where we learn how to get back up to the mountaintop again. And if you've ever done that, you probably noticed that you're on the mountaintop, everything is glorious and wonderful, and then maybe you have that thought, you know, this could all end in a heartbeat. Oh crap, my life's a mess. And you're back down in the valley. That's how it works. It's okay. You went back to the valley to learn some more and work your way back up the mountain to where you want to be so that you could learn, so that you could have a better life. We can all do that. Oops. Boy, I just blew that. Okay, now you know. Yep. Anyway, I'm going to read it anyway because it's worth it. You're going to look at Bram Stoker and forget that last slide. An example of a man who knew how to learn. At the age of 22, he lost his job when his father moved the family to another city. 23, he was defeated when he ran for the state legislature. 25, he started a business with a partner. The partner died almost immediately, and they had to close the business. 26, his childhood sweetheart died. At 28, he again ran for a seat in the state legislature. He was elected to 2 terms, but was defeated when he ran for Speaker of the House. At 35, he was not elected when he ran for Congress. At 37, he was elected to the House of Representatives, but he was not reelected. At 40 years old, he sought the appointment of the Commissioner of General Land Office in Washington, D.C., but was not selected. At 49, he was defeated in a run for the U.S. Senate, even though he won the popular vote. At the age of 51, he was elected President of the United States. It was Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. But by all accounts, by virtually every historian of American life, he is the greatest president we ever had. Why? He knew how to learn. He knew how to turn a failure into something that he could use in his life. He was a very successful lawyer. He never went to law school. He actually borrowed books to learn the law. But he actually spoke before the Illinois Supreme Court. He argued before the U.S. Supreme Court. He was a great attorney. He understood the law, and he understood how to move from failure to success better than any president in our history. Who knows? Maybe that'll stand forever. Pretty good work. So don't think that failure anyway keeps you from being successful. If anything, it gives you more opportunity to hone your skills and make your success even greater. Successful people keep their agreements. This is one of my personal things, is keeping agreements. Meaning that if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I can't do it, as soon as I recognize that I physically, geographically, whatever the issue is, am not going to do this thing, I'm going to call you as soon as I can and change that agreement. What I'm not going to do is let that come and go and not having done what I said I would do. That's not acceptable. This is a sign of success. Why? Because when you keep your agreements, people trust you. And when people trust you, they entrust things to you, like their money, like their time, like their energy. And they feel good about it because you have demonstrated over and over again that if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. It is a key element of success, no matter what. Keep your agreements. If you can't keep an agreement, change it. There's no other angle here. And what it creates is that outcome of being trusted, which is invaluable in life. If people don't trust you, you don't have much. And if you don't keep your agreements, especially if your agreement is to do something with someone, what you're doing is you're stealing their time. That's something they're not going to get back while they're waiting for you to show up and you're not. That doesn't work. That's out of integrity. The idea of keeping an agreement is in integrity, and you always want to do that if you want to be successful. Successful people are ethical, not moral. Why do I say that? Well, let's deal with the moral thing first. Morals are handed down to you. Other people came up with them, and they're telling you you have to do this. Those are what morals are. I'm not into that. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't agree with some things that people would say are moral, but I don't do it because they said so. I do it because I choose to do it, and that's what works for me. Now, ethical is a very different thing in that I believe being ethical means that what you say and what you think and what you do are the same thing. Meaning you have a standard by which you live your life, and you use that to be in the world, not to cheat anyone, but this is your way of being in the world. I remember years and years ago, we were playing some kind of a game with Barbara's nephew. His name was Jamie. He's not with us on this plane anymore, but Jamie was an interesting character. He was born, how much did he weigh when he was born? 1 pound, 9 ounces. A little tiny guy, never got to be big in stature, had lots of health issues, had to take medicine every day of his life. And he was interesting. He was interesting. He didn't have a problem taking things from corporations. Yes, I'm saying he stole some things. That was his ethic, that he had a right to share in the proceeds or profits or ownership of things that were owned by corporations. He would never steal from an individual. Now, the thing about that is, corporations should watch when he's coming. But people were safe with him. Now, you may say, well, that doesn't sound ethical. It's what he believed. It's how he lived his life. And he wouldn't hide it. He would tell you. Or it was the game that revealed all this stuff. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Jamie, you're actually in integrity as you say these things to me, because you're acting accordingly and speaking accordingly and telling based on what you think, how you see the world working. Now, I don't know how helpful that was, but if you want to live a successful life, make sure that what you're thinking and what you're saying and what you're doing match up. If they do, then you can be confident that your life is working. And to me, that's a measure of success. On the other hand, when someone gives you a list of things that are morals, that you should never do this or you should always do that because they say so, I don't know. That just doesn't work for me. I don't know that that necessarily guarantees anything, except that you can follow someone else's directions. Successful people are willing to be vulnerable in difficult situations. Reverend Sally Robbins is actually taking our leadership council members through a process. We're reading a book by Brene Brown called Dare to Lead, and it's really built on this idea of being vulnerable. And I think I'm the perfect person to bring this, because you know how many times I've stood up here and cried. So the idea of being vulnerable is often seen as a weakness. And what Brene Brown is telling us is actually it's a sign of strength. It's a sign of courage, to be honest, to be clear, to be able to show some emotion in difficult situations and let that be okay. I'm not telling you all to go start crying to people. What I am saying, though, is it's okay to not always be absolutely safe, because you are safe. It's just an illusion that you're not. And I've been in situations where I just felt so compelled. God, I did it over and over again when I was president of CSL. I would be in these meetings, and we would take us through a process, and they would say, okay, tell us what's going on. And I would be honest. Not everybody in the room would be honest, but I would. And sure enough, they would use it against me. Was I a victim in that moment? Absolutely not. I was honest. Because they attacked me at my moment of vulnerability does not make me anything less. In fact, frankly, I think it makes me successful in that engagement. So the idea of showing some emotion, of being not completely feeling that everybody's got your back, is really okay. It's really okay. In fact, it will make you stronger, makes me stronger. It's okay to be a little vulnerable. It's okay to share what you're feeling, what you're thinking. Even if you don't know what the outcome is going to be, it's all going to work out. I have no regrets for how I served our international organization and the things that I said and did. Did I make some missteps? Absolutely. Do I regret them? No, because I learned from them. And when I had to talk about them in meetings, when I had made an announcement that was premature, when I had promised somebody something that somebody else didn't want me to do, I was vulnerable. It was okay. And it worked out. It always worked out. So don't be afraid to be honest, even in difficult situations. Successful people support others in being accountable. This is where it gets kind of a shift. And this is important, because I'm not suggesting that you should judge people in your life. In fact, don't judge people in your life. But there will be times where someone else will say they're going to do something and they don't. Rather than making them wrong, help them keep their word. Help them find their way. Support them in being what they can be. We have a thing that we say around here, that when we lift others up, we are lifted up simultaneously. It's the truth. Everybody wants to be accountable. Not everybody knows how. Not everybody even notices when they're not being accountable. They go to an excuse or blaming somebody else. No. When somebody misses the mark, help them. Help them find their way so they'll do better the next time. That's the thing that successful people do. And the final one on this list is successful people empower others to achieve. Now, my great example in my life is a man named Brian Byro, who doesn't happen to be here today. He is a member of the center, and as you've heard me say, he's one of the top 50 rated public speakers in the world. He's a blessing to this community, and especially to me. He's a blessing in my life. And the first story I want to tell you about that very quickly is that I was on the Sillamar committee for United Church at one point, and they wanted to do something different, out of the box. And I immediately thought of Brian and his board-breaking experiences. And I told them about him. He said, get him to come. And I said, how much can you pay him? And they gave me a number. I knew that wasn't going to work. So I called Brian, and I said, we'd love for you to come do this. He said, what's the compensation? I told him, he said, oh, I can't do it for that. At one moment, I got how integrous that was. He didn't work below a certain amount. He said, but I'll teach you how to do it. I swear to you, he spent more time teaching me how to do it than it was if he'd just gone out there and done it and taken their little bit of money. I didn't pay him anything. But he taught me so generously. Came over to this center a number of times, made me give my entire presentation in front of this empty room with only him sitting there until I got it to where he liked it. It was brilliant. It was hard as hell, but it really worked for me. It worked so well that when the, what do they give at the end of the thing? The evaluations at the end of the Sillamar conference, there were people that actually wrote this. This Sillamar had Matthew Fox and John Waterhouse. How could it be better than that? That was because of Brian's generosity. That's what he did for me. Now he's working with me on other things and helping me extraordinarily in creating things in my life. He empowers me by what he knows, by his years and years and years of doing the work of speaking to our audiences around the world. Probably 500,000 people, maybe more than that. Anyway, all of that. No, it's got to be more than that by now. He's old enough, it should be more than that. Anyway, what I'm saying to you is successful people, and no one can question Brian Byro's success, is built around his ability to support others in their dreams. That's empowerment. That's success. So you've let these things wash over you this morning, these ideas of success. Maybe some of them don't apply. As I look across this room, I see a number of very successful people because I know your story and I know your successes. In other cases, I don't really know. But what I want for you, what I know for you, is that you have it in you to be successful at this life so that when you step away from this earthly experience someday, those that are left will be people that love you and people that you loved because you gave them something that made their life better. That's the truth, and that's my prayer for you, and I love you all. Thank you very much. Bless you. Yay!